I'm going to share with you everything I know about where and how to buy your first goats. Hey everyone, my name is Stephanie from the Farmhouse Mom. I have owned a herd of Nigerian dwarf dairy goats since 2017, and I am here to help you find your first pair of goats. That's right, I said pair. So if you are looking for goats, you're going to need at least 2 if you want to have pets. And if you are looking to breed your own dairy goats so you can have babies and milk, you're going to need a minimum of 5. This is your first introduction to goat math. All right, I've got some notes here that I jotted down really quick this morning over my morning coffee. So if you don't know anything about goats and you think you might be interested in getting some, you are at the right spot. And this is something that I share with potential new clients, people that ask me questions through my farm website, people who will call and ask if I have goats. I currently have a herd of about, 40 to 50 Nigerian dwarf goats. We have just finished our kidding season, so our population tends to double. I like to keep a tight, close herd of about 20 does. So that sounds like a lot, but it's actually a pretty small number if you are actively breeding and selling and milking goats. So first we're going to talk about that goat math. We're going to talk about how many goats that you need. So if you are looking for just pets, then you are going to need 2. You can't just have 1 goat. They're a herd animal. They can't be single. So my suggestion is for you to buy 2 boys that are weathered. That means that they have been fixed like you will fix a dog or a cat. A lot of times when you start with pets, which is what I did, I started with just wethers, just neutered boys. At that point, you either decide that goat owning is not for you, it's too inconvenient, or you decide that you really love it and you want to start breeding your own goats. Maybe you would like your own dairy milk, maybe you would like to show goats and get into that part of it where you're winning ribbons, you are able to meet friends within the community. There's a whole range of reasons why you might want to start breeding goats, and so think about what your goals are. So let's say you're wanting to breed goats. So you're going to need a minimum of 2 does, 3 is best. Let's say you just buy 2 does. If one of those does gets ill and passes, then you are left without a companion. Goats are not a low maintenance animal. Goats are a high maintenance animal. When you first start out with goats, the likelihood of losing a goat to illness is very high. They do get sick, just like any other animal. So now you have 3 girls and now you're going to need 2 boys. You can either have 1 buck, which is an intact male, and a wether companion, or you can get 2 bucks, so 2 males that are not weathered. That's really up to you. If you are brand new and you're first starting, it's going to be more economical for you to purchase 1 buck and then get 1 wether as a companion. The price on my farm for wethers is $150 for 1 or $200 for 2. And I do that just so I can encourage people to not buy a single goat, because a single goat is a naughty goat and you and the goat will be very, very unhappy if you only have 1. So if you're currently in a position where you only have 1 goat, you need to go out and get that goat a companion. And if you are having behavioral issues, I promise you, you will see those behavioral issues resolve or at least greatly diminish. Okay, so we've talked about how many goats we might want if we're just getting pets and we just want to ease in and dip our toe into goat owning. We probably are just going to get 2 wethers, but if we feel comfortable around animals and we are wanting to have a little herd, we're going to get 3 girls and 2 boys. So where do we find those goats? Where is an economical and a reputable place to purchase those goats? So we're going to talk about 4 different places you can buy goats, and we're going to go from cheapest to most expensive, theoretically. In my opinion, the cheapest is probably going to cost you the most money, but we're going to start at the sale barn. So a sale barn is a place where people come and they have animals that they want to sell. They're put all in a pen, and then those animals are auctioned off. So you typically can get animals extremely cheap there, and I would say that is not a good place to buy dairy goats. If you are just buying meat goats, I think that you can find some nice sale barns that pride themselves on being disease-free and clean and a nice process for the customer. I would never buy a dairy goat from a sale barn. That might kind of ruffle some feathers from some people, but that's the advice that I would give you as a dairy goat owner. What you will typically get when you are buying a sale barn animal is animals that are diseased, animals that are problem animals, animals that are old. You might get goats that are not getting pregnant, so they're not useful. You can't make any money off of them. You might get goats that have defects, or again, like I said, disease. Now, on occasion, you will just have people that are just so tired of their goats and they're just not selling a lot, and they will go dump a very nice animal at a sale barn. That is extremely unlikely, and like I said, they are all kept in the same pen with other diseased animals. So that cheapest option, in my opinion, is going to cost you the most. So as you can see, I don't think sale barn is a great place to buy a goat. Okay, now we're going to move on to Craigslist. So you can find some nice goats on Craigslist. Those typically, however, are going to be from either pet breeders or color breeders, as we call them in the Nigerian dwarf industry. People that are just breeding goats to try to make a pretty goat without thought of how much milk they're going to produce, or if they are structurally sound, or if they're just a nice solid animal. And again, if you're just looking for a pet goat, you don't care what it's going to produce, buying a goat off of Craigslist is going to be a step above buying it from the sale barn. Now we're going to move to Facebook. Facebook, you actually can find some really, really nice goats. I don't know how much longer you're going to be able to buy goats on Facebook, because Facebook really cuts down on the legal sales of livestock. But what you can find is breeders in your area. You also can go on Facebook groups where you can find people posting animals that they have for sale. However, that is a huge opportunity for you to be scammed out of your money. I have had no less than 4 people come to me just this year that had met somebody off of a Facebook group and were wanting to buy goats, and it turns out that they took their deposit money and they did not get a goat. So you can be scammed on Facebook, but it also can be a great resource if you look at that person. Maybe you see Stephanie from the Farmhouse Mom is selling a goat. You go look at Stephanie's Facebook page from her business, and then you see if she has a website, and then you can do your due diligence to see if Stephanie has been selling goats for a while, or if she's just trying to scam people and trick people. And that leads us to our 4th option of where we can buy a goat and how we can buy a goat. And that is an internet search. That is going to be your safest and best option to buy a goat. You can just type in Nigerian dwarf goats for sale in my area. Maybe you're looking for a sable or a La Mancha. Maybe you're looking for a Boer goat. So any type of goat, obviously you can see what I'm saying here, any type of goat that you're looking for, you're going to look for several breeders in your area. You also can look for a county fair in your area and go to your county fair and go to a livestock show. Those are people that are spending money to bring their best and show them and hope that they're going to win a prize. But we're just talking about things you can do from the comfort of your own home. So an internet search, and you are looking for people who have a website. You also can be scammed by just a website. I think anything, if you're buying anything, that can happen in this day and age. But hopefully that person will have a phone number or an email, and you can call and talk to that person. You also can Google that farm name, and if no information comes up besides their website or their Facebook page, that's not a legitimate breeder. The number one reason why you should buy from a reputable breeder is mentoring. I know for myself, I started out by myself. I really didn't have a person that could point me in the right direction as far as goats that I was looking for, or somebody that I could trust when they sold me a goat, that it would be what they said, that it would be a great milker or it would be great conformationally. Because when you first buy goats, you have no idea what a dairy goat is supposed to look like. You don't even really know how much they're supposed to milk. So buying from a breeder in your area offers so many benefits, and mentorship is a very important part of that. Buying the goat is going to be your least expensive part of goat ownership. There's a lot of things that are going to come with the goat, and there's going to be a lot of expenses attached to buying that goat. You are going to need to buy hay. You're going to need to buy medication. You're going to be needing to buy fencing. You're going to need to buy housing. If you're buying a goat from the sale barn, you could get a dairy goat for as cheap as $20 or $25. You really could. You also could get a goat that has a range of diseases that you have to go into the vet and drop a couple $100s within your first couple days of goat ownership, because your cheapest option will very, very quickly become your most expensive option. If we are looking to buy a goat off of Craigslist, you could very easily get a goat from $50 to $100 off of Craigslist. And you possibly could go to the farm, you could check it out and see if it's clean. And that is still a gamble, but that's a gamble you might be wanting to take if you are just looking to spend a very nominal amount getting your first couple of goats. So I'm going to talk about pricing on my farm. For wethers, for just castrated goats, I charge $150 for one, and then I charge $200 for two. That encourages people to buy two goats. And I like people buying two goats at the same age, at the same time, because if you have two little babies, they're going to bond together and snuggle together and to be able to have companionship and be warm, rather than, let's say somebody has a year or 2-year-old goat, and then they try to put this tiny little baby with this goat, and big animals pick on small animals, and so it's generally preferred to get two animals the same age so they can be together. As far as does, if I am selling unregistered does, I start at $300. So now let's talk about a typical average price for a registered goat. So if there is a goat that I deem worthy to keep and to keep in my breeding program, generally $500 is the lowest that I will sell a registered doe. My average price, buck, $450 to $550. Let me just present this to you. Instead of buying your cheapest buck, you really should spend the most money on your buck, because your buck is half of your herd. So let's talk about your buck and what he is going to be doing. He is going to be making babies for you. So you want some fabulous milkers with amazing udders, amazing attachments that are going to stand up over time, that are going to give you lots of milk volume, and structurally is going to give you a beautiful goat. Wonderful shoulders, wonderful hips, wonderful feet. You want this goat to stand up over time. You don't want this goat to start having knee problems or shoulder problems at 6 or 7 years old. What I would do if I was starting a new goat herd, and I would go to one of my breeders in my area and I would explain my situation, and I would say, this is how much money I have. I want the best buck that I can buy with this money, and I also need 3 or 4 does to go along with it. And so the best thing you can do is get a breeder that you like, that you can maintain a friendship with, and that you can trust, so they can help you not only buy a great goat, your goat is going to get sick. Any of my clients can pick up the phone and they can call me and say, my goat has A, B, C, D. What should I do? And I will do my best to point them in the right direction, to let them know what medication that they might need and when they need to go to the vet and when they can treat the animal themselves. I know if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you may not be interested in buying goats, but I thought you might like a little bit behind the scenes information on how and where to buy your first dairy goat.